All right, everybody, welcome to Talking Taker, episode number 56 of our encyclopedic exploration, digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time. My name is Alex Dorio. I want to thank you for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. And I am joined, as always, by my co-host, by my fellow creature of the night, by my wrestling buddy, Mr. Travis White. And Travis, it is interesting that we are talking about this particular show today. Of course, we're covering Backlash 1999, the final In Your House pay-per-view, the Undertaker's matchup with Ken Shamrock. We're going to focus in on and all the build-up leading up to it. But in actuality, man, this is our #MeToo episode of the podcast.
I guess you could call it that, yes. That's what we'll get into. Yikes, man. Who knew?
All over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. You can't do this on television anymore, so.
No, a lot of workplace sexual harassment going on.
Yeah, they need a Michael Scott intervention here. So. Actually, that'd make it worse.
Yeah, it would. It's funny, but it's true. And we're going to cover all of this uncomfortable build-up leading into a match that the crowd was uncomfortable to watch. But we're going to get into talking about all of that here as we talk about Backlash 99. Undertaker and Ken Shamrock on here. We're going to dive right into it. But before we do, man, I just want to give a quick shout-out to a fellow podcast. I got to listen to it today. They are the Wrestle Special. They are at Wrestle Special on Twitter, and I'm sure on all the other social media platforms. But, Travis, when me and you started this podcast, our whole idea was to try to do something a little bit different than your standard wrestling podcast. And so I appreciate what the Wrestle Special is doing. They've kind of got this debate format. It's like high school debate class. They pick a topic and assign out different arguments to the different hosts on there. So this week they had an episode all about the Undertaker and the different eras of the Undertaker, and each guy had to try to defend which era of the Undertaker was the best. So I highly recommend it to all of our fellow creatures of the night out there to go enjoy that, to go vote on it, which era they think was the best, who made the best argument out there. But I bring that up because I feel like, I want to plug it for one thing, but I feel like it ties so much into what we are talking about here, about the different eras of The Undertaker. We've talked about his rise and, all the different ways that he's evolved into the character that he is, and now he's evolved into this dark, mysterious, evil character, the leader of the Ministry of Darkness, the Lord of Darkness, whatever all the nicknames he gave out last week were.
Yeah.
But all of that history, all of that awesome stuff about Undertaker, I feel like in just a few segments that we're going to cover today is just about thrown in the trash through some of the comments that they made. They take all of the Undertaker's character, they take all of his build-up, and they just ignore it, or they say none of that matters anymore. And it's just so frustrating to me, and I want to just set the scene for that as we talk about this stuff. I don't know if you felt the same way.
No, I absolutely do, and when we get to that particular point, we'll definitely hit on that. But yeah, it's like when you've invested all this time, in this character, and that's what we're doing, and then to be told, it's fake, or whatever, we know it is, but you don't want to be told that, So just like you don't want to be actually, like, once you know how a magic trick's done, it's not impressive anymore. It's like, I kind of liked it not knowing, better. But like if we were, like, we always keep talking about writing a book of Undertaker and have these new chapters. It's like if we got to this next chapter and we're like, oh, by the way, forget the first 55 chapters we just wrote. Those don't matter anymore. And it sucks. So it sucks. It's like when they reboot your favorite TV show or movie or take something out of the canon of a movie series or, comic book or whatever like that. It blows. So
we're going to dig into the build-up to Undertaker and Ken Shamrock with Raw episode 305, March 29th, 1999. And this is the Raw after WrestleMania. It is the traditional hot crowd. It doesn't quite have that same aura that Raw after WrestleMania has nowadays, but it's still got a lot of big stuff going on here, setting up the next few months and even the next year of storylines and everything like that. But Stone Cold is going to come out looking good in his black t-shirt tucked into his black jeans here. And
page out of Bischoff's book.
He is going to pay off something that we told you guys to pay attention to a few months ago.
Yeah.
Back when Stone Cold gave Vince McMahon, where Vince McMahon stole Stone Cold's Smoking Skull Championship belt, I believe, at Breakdown in Your House, and said he was going to go put it on the mantle in his Greenwich, Connecticut home, or the mantle of one of his mini homes, I believe is what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now Stone Cold is going to come out here after winning the WWF title at WrestleMania 15, and he is going to give Vince McMahon an ultimatum to go get that Smoking Skull Championship belt from his house in Connecticut. So paying off that storyline thread from over 7 months ago. And I just thought that is so fantastic.
Oh, yeah, you got to appreciate that, man, because we're going to get into some stuff that's Russo-rific and is stupid, but this is Russo at his finest, you know. We get the highs and the lows of him here because, yeah, this is great, paying off a 7-month storyline right here, you know. And again, the reason we're mentioning it, too, guys, is because I know it's Stone Cold and Vince, but it all plays in because Vince is going to have his hand in, like we mentioned last week, he's dealing with everyone on the roster. It's going to get even worse here, as we discussed. There's going to be more people he's going to be feuding with. So we have to mention this kind of stuff, too, as we're going, because Taker will play into it eventually. So because he's kind of entwined with the corporation, and that's kind of who his feud is with. So I do want to say, when Taker arrives here, the Ministry arrived backstage, and Michael Cole says, "What in the H are they doing here? What's the Ministry of Darkness doing here?" And I was just like, they freaking work here, you moron.
They're under contract as wrestlers.
Yeah. To borrow a line from the Disco Inferno, you are a louse. You're a louse. What a moron. They work here, you stupid idiot. Why would you ask why they're here? What you should be asking is, why weren't they here earlier?
Exactly.
Why does everyone get here late during this Attitude Era?
Well,
there's one episode of Raw we're going to cover that Austin doesn't show up to the last 5 minutes. That's your champion. He shows up 5 minutes before the end of the show. So, anyway.
Paul Bearer didn't realize what time it was because he was wearing his sunglasses at night as he was walking into the building. That was probably part of the problem.
Corey. Big fan of Corey and Corey. Yeah.
Corey and Corey.
Isn't that who sang? One of the Corys sang sunglasses.
Corey Hart.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Corey.
not one of the Corys.
No, he's the third Corey. It's Corey, okay. Corey, and Corey.
Man.
Triple C.
I got to go back to last week real quick because I can't believe I forgot to talk about one of my favorite moments from WrestleMania where Paul Bearer is the one that's raising up the cell when the boss man is hanging in it, and they cut to him, and he's just like gleefully pressing the button on there, just repeatedly like mashing the joystick on there, trying to raise the cell up, and it's just he's just on screen for 3 seconds, but I laughed out loud when that happened, and totally forgot to mention it as we were going through everything because there was so much to cover, and there's so much to cover this week, but I didn't want to forget about it.
Yeah, that was entertaining as well. He's so good, man. He's so good. He has a couple good things here in this build-up, too, we're going to get to. So, but, yeah, this night as well, we get the debut of Stephanie McMahon as an actual character on screen. So we've mentioned her. We've mentioned her name. We've seen her, saw her bump into Stone Cold. I think that was 2 episodes ago. We talked about how she bumped into him and just kind of said he asked her a question. We didn't know who she was. But here she actually debuts as a character. Vince tells Stephanie to basically get on the phone, call the house, get the Smoking Skull belt here as soon as possible. And, there she is.
There she is, and The Undertaker is actually going to focus on a different woman here tonight, at least at first, because the Ministry is going to interrupt a showdown between Tori and Sable to a huge pop. The crowd is excited to see them interrupt this.
It's Sable and Jackie versus Tori and Ivory, and this has got to be one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
I mean, not even kidding. Like, take every indie show or every National Fairground show I've ever been to. Like, this is one of the worst matches I have ever seen in my life. And then, when the lights go out and the Ministry comes out, the crowd pops. They enjoy the fact that this match is going to be interrupted because it sucked. So, it's crazy.
The Undertaker goes straight after Sable. He tells her, "Don't be scared. I came out here to see what you got." So, I guess The Undertaker does like hoes after all.
He called his old friend Charles, the Godfather. He just want to see what she's got. They could have opened the most recent edition of that magazine if you wanted to, but she tries to grind, and he does not have it. He chokes her instead. So I'm not sure what he's into here. He's 50 Shades of Black, I guess you could say. But anyway, he says, "I got your." He's talking to Vince here because I got your precious little meal ticket. And then says, "I want you to come out here right now before I snap her head." and you better come alone. So I guess he mistakes her for a crawfish or something. So just pop the head off. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
Well, of course, all this is to get at McMahon so he can get McMahon's attention and basically distract him so that he can go after his actual target, which is, of course, Stephanie. And he succeeds in his mission. Vince McMahon comes out. He's saying, "What kind of man are you, Undertaker?" And then Vince all of a sudden realizes he's made a mistake because by coming out there into the arena, Vince has left Stephanie vulnerable. He's fallen into the Undertaker's trap. So he runs backstage, and somehow, even though she's been guarded by security guards, even though Shane McMahon was in the dressing room with her, somehow Stephanie has been kidnapped out of the locker room. And Shane doesn't understand what's going on. The guards don't know what's going on. But somehow Stephanie has been kidnapped.
Yeah, and so I don't really know how that happened. I don't think we really get the payoff of that here either, do we? I mean,
King alludes to the fact that the Acolytes were not out there with the Ministry when they came out, so perhaps they did it, but who knows how, because...
Exactly, yeah. That's what I mean, because Shane never says, well, the Acolytes came by, or Bradshaw stopped in for a financial chat or something like that, or Farouk stopped by to talk Florida State football. He didn't say anything like that. He just would never get that. That's kind of a dangling thread that's just left there that nobody really pulls on. But I do want to say this. So after this, we got Vince, and he's mopey backstage, and he's like, all sad, and his daughter's been kidnapped. But why am I supposed to feel sympathy for him? And in my notes, I just wrote sympathy for the devil, like that song by the Rolling Stones. Like, why am I supposed to feel sympathy for Vince McMahon? He's Vince McMahon. He's a maniac. His character, he's a maniac. He hates Stone Cold. He wants anybody but him to be the corporate champion. He spent a year, almost 2 years at this point now, right? Since basically the Montreal Screwjob, being the most overheel on the planet. So I don't know. I don't feel any sympathy for him here. I mean, I guess I'm sad for Stephanie, but not for Vince. So.
Yeah, that's the problem we talked about last episode. Yeah. It's going to be a huge problem with trying to care about anything that's happening in this episode too, or this this episode, Talking Taker, all the stuff that we're going to cover here. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just then we get some more mopey Vince, and his phone rings. And as you guys remember last week, we talked about his phone ringing, and it was Undertaker calling from his house, basically saying, "Hey, I lit a giant cross on fire in your front yard." Well, here it is again, and I can only imagine that it's got to be Speed Dial 3. So we got Speed Dial 1 is the Druids, Speed Dial 2 is the Orderlies, Speed Dial 3 is Vince in whatever closet he's in at Raw. And so Taker rings the phone, and it's Taker, and he says,
"Hello? Vince, it is true, isn't it? She really is sugar and spice and everything nice."
Vince ends up sending Ken Shamrock along with the Stooges on a mission to find Steph somewhere out in the arena. Yes. They're looking all over the place. And the big, another big part of this is that because Vince is so distracted by all of this, he doesn't care about anything else in the show. So Shane McMahon is asking him, well, what are we going to do about The Rock? The Rock's got a match tonight, and Vince tells Shane he doesn't care. The Shane can do whatever he wants for the corporation for the rest of the night. Vince's only mission is to find Stephanie. So that's going to continue to build over the next few weeks as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of setting Vince up to kind of, take his hands off of things and not care or whatever, and maybe, we'll see how this plays out. But another thing, too, is that Big Show faces Test. Again, they were former members of the corporation together, but the night before at WrestleMania, Big Show got arrested or whatever. But this basically sets up yet another feud for Vince McMahon with someone on the roster. That's Big Show. He's like, you don't own me, all this stuff. And it's just too much. There's too much Vince.
Way too much.
Is he a heel? Is he a face? When should I care for him? When's the sympathy? Where do I get heat on him? Where do I, where does he get the babyface shine? I don't know where he's supposed to go. It's very confusing. But I do want to say, speaking of babyface shine, when Shane comes out with The Rock for his match against Billy Gunn, he is a babyface.
Yeah.
The Rock is over, but he's a heel, but he's a heel, but he's not. I mean, an enormous babyface. The crowd loves him, and he's so freaking entertaining, man.
Yeah, he gets cheered throughout this whole month, and I mean, he's going to be a babyface by the next few weeks from now, officially.
That's true. Yeah. So,
well, Shamrock does end up figuring out where Stephanie is after he faces Gangrel and tries to beat the life out of him to get the information, but Gangrel doesn't give it up. Instead, the Brood ends up trying to save Gangrel, give him a bloodbath, but the bloodbath doesn't even faze Ken Shamrock. He is out of control, losing his mind. He grabs Christian, and Christian immediately squeals that Stephanie is in the basement. So a crazed and blood-covered Ken Shamrock runs to the back and finds Stephanie in the basement, in the boiler room, basically, with the Undertaker's symbol marked on her forehead, her makeup smeared as if she's been crying. She's in hysterics, and Ken Shamrock is able to return Stephanie to a very emotional Vince McMahon.
Oh, very emotional. I mean, I think he's cursing up a blue streak. I think they had to bleep some stuff here. Honestly, I know they bleeped some stuff in a future episode, but yeah, he's letting those 4-letter words fly. And is there anything better than a crazed, blood-covered Ken Shamrock?
Absolutely not.
on a warpath?
Dude, I can talk about it now, but I love Ken Shamrock. Huge Ken Shamrock mark. I was excited to get to this match. I think he's underrated in his run. It's crazy to me that he was really only there for about 2 years in the WWF.
Yeah, I know.
Give or take a couple months. Feels like he was there for a lot longer. I think he just has such a natural charisma about him.
Yeah.
I enjoy his work. Only thing, he sucks on the mic. He can't cut a promo to save his life. But he reminds me a lot. I know that MMA connections are there, but he just reminds me a lot of Ronda Rousey. Just,
sure.
A little bit awkward at times, but still just a natural charisma. Everything he does feels real, and I always enjoyed him. Wish he would have stuck around a lot longer, that we could have seen him some more. I'm glad we get to cover him on this episode.
Yeah, no, me too, man. It's been, because his first thing was that WrestleMania 13 referee the match, right? That was his first real thing. So, yeah, it's been just a little over 2 years that he's been there. So, and he won't stick around too much longer. So, yeah, definitely underrated. I'm looking for, always use his knee pads and his kick pads of my creator wrestlers on No Mercy and stuff. So
there you go.
They were just really good. You could use different colors on it. It was really nice. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, like you said, Vince has got Stephanie back with him. And then we see a limo pull up. And this limo driver runs out. We learn in a few minutes we learn in a few minutes what his actual name is, because he brings a Smoking Skull belt in there, and Vince is consoling Stephanie, and he tells Abdul to return the belt. So I just like that the limo driver actually had a name. He wasn't even like a Middle Eastern guy, but his name was Abdul. He's a white guy. His name was Abdul. I loved it. So
I don't know who wrote that.
Yeah. I don't know. But Vince says he'll always be indebted to Shamrock because of this, and he says this night is far from over as trauma is concerned, and he orders Shane to give the belt to Austin. He's going to console Steph and take her home, and eventually, at the end of the night, Austin never gets his belt back. So
that's going to be the storyline between Austin and Rock for this whole month.
Yeah,
so that's going to take us into Heat on April 4th, 1999, episode 36 on the WWE Network. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. This is where things just go off a cliff for me, in my opinion. And that's because Vince and Stephanie are going to have a very serious sit-down interview where they're going to discuss everything going on with The Undertaker with the King, Jerry Lawler, of all people, who's going to conduct this interview. Which I was flabbergasted at first, but then I realized, well, I mean, who else would be the foremost expert on creepy activities with younger girls than the King? He's a perfect person to do that interview.
Oh, man. Oh, yikes. Yeah, you're right. He's the perfect candidate for that. But I thought maybe they chose to do this with King because last time he did a serious interview, he wound up making fun of how Paul Bearer had Undertaker's mom do sex. Yeah, whatever. I'll leave
Slipped
that there.
To the salami.
Exactly. So speaking of that, before we get to the interview, I mentioned last week on Talking Taker that don't worry, you Boss Man fans. He's going to come back from the dead very shortly, and he does here on Heat. So this is a week after WrestleMania. He comes back on Heat, and he returns from the dead, I guess, and he defeats Droz, rips out his nose ring. So I forgot about that angle, but
that was gross.
That's going to lead to Prince. Prince Albert coming onto our screens as well. So,
well, that's part of my problem here too. Is that but Big Boss Man, and they say this on commentary at one point, Big Boss Man is in action for the first time since being hanged at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Listen to that sentence. The Big Boss Man was just hanged at WrestleMania, and he's going to be wrestling 7 days later with no effects. You're basically telling us nothing that happens matters. Why am I supposed to care about what just happened with the Big Boss Man, where he was hung, and it looked like he died, and he's just back? No big deal. 7 days later. He missed one episode of Raw because of it. They're calling it a demonstration, that it was this psychological attack. What does that even mean? Like, he was literally hung. And by having him just back there, you're telling me as a fan, nothing matters. And that's what this interview with Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon is going to do in a much bigger way.
Yep.
Well, Vince McMahon... This is... go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, this is great because we do get a clip of the oil painting hanging in Vince's house.
Yeah,
so
you can see
the
part
famous
of it
or
there.
infamous, or yeah, you can see the oil painting of himself he has on his wall. It's good stuff.
Well, King asks him to explain everything that's been going on, and Vince takes us back to a few weeks ago. He says, all of this with Undertaker started with that envelope that he passed on to Shane McMahon that we talked about here on the show. He says he finally reveals that in that envelope were candid photos of Stephanie McMahon in her bedroom, invading her privacy, which is gross. And then Vince says that the teddy bear that Undertaker set on fire, that Paul Bearer gave him, was Stephanie's one from when she was a child, which means that the ministry broke into their home to steal this teddy bear. And then Stephanie goes on to talk and say that she has found strange things written on her mirror and her personal things invaded when she got home the other night. So the Undertaker is, or the ministry, someone is taking pictures of Stephanie McMahon in her bedroom, stealing her teddy bear, and invading her personal things, whatever that means. So the Undertaker is not just this evil, dark, mysterious dead man. He is a creepy sexual predator now.
Creepy old guy. Yeah, because if you guys remember when he started this, he got buried alive. He came back, and he's this kind of darker ministry taker. And he said, I'm coming to take over the World Wrestling Federation, Vince. How does creeping on Vince's daughter, how does becoming a pervert help you take over the WWF? If anything, it make you get kicked out of it because you're a freak. So sexual, so I don't get it. But it's weird, man. It's weird. So I feel like we need an episode to catch a predator and to set up the ministry and catch them.
Well, if it were just that grossness, I would roll my eyes at it, but I could get over it. But this next part is what really just pissed me off. Yeah,
so here we go. We got Vince McMahon getting all shoot-ski over here, and he's basically saying that, I've known Undertaker for about a decade. And the Taker he's changed. He's believing this creature that he's created. He's become this creature, and he has people now following him. He says, I've known, I think he uses the word cretin, doesn't he? He's become a cretin. So that was a bit on the War Today calendar there too. And then he goes on here.
He has other people believing in what he now believes in. He has people following him. And I don't know what he wants. I don't know. I mean, if it's just about business, I've known him for a long time. I've known Mark for a long time.
Well, I don't know if I should say this or not, but there's a term in wrestling that is like sometimes living your gimmick. You created The Undertaker, and now it's like...
Yeah, but the difference is here, he is believing now.
Right.
And this transformation, he's believing in who he thinks he should be.
So it's just, bye-bye, kayfabe. See you later.
I hate
all this, like you
so
said,
much.
9 years of history is just like, oh, by the way, none of that actually mattered. So it sucks.
He's calling Vince McMahon calling Undertaker by his real name, by Mark.
Right.
I don't ever need that. I don't want that. I want the Undertaker to be mysterious, to be different. I don't need him to be joined in all this realness that's going along. And basically, what you're doing here is you're saying, well, everything you're saying is everything on the show is fake except for this. This is real,
right?
Which is like this Russo thing. He did it a lot in WCW. I felt like when he was there, all these worked shoots and all this sort of stuff. But like you just said, we're throwing away all this stuff by saying Vince McMahon created the character of the Undertaker. That he's been this gimmick for a long time, and now he's buying into it. Are you telling us that? Okay, does that mean that Undertaker and Kane are not really brothers? That Kane is not really Kane? That Paul Bearer is not really Paul Bearer? Like, do you realize all of the stuff that you're throwing away by trying to pretend like the Undertaker is not the Undertaker, that he's just Mark and he just believes he's the Undertaker? Oh my God, I just was rolling my eyes, so mad about it. It'd be like if you were watching the next Avengers movie, and all of a sudden the Avengers are like, dude, I think Robert's really believing he's Iron Man. Like, he's really buying into that character right there.
He's really believes he's Tony Stark.
Yes, yeah. I don't need that. I don't want that. It ruins everything for me.
Right, and that's always my problem. People say, wrestling's fake. I say, no, it's not. It's predetermined. That I always say, Robert Downey Jr. is not Tony Stark. He's playing a character. But again, like you said, in the movie, they don't cut the fourth wall here and break the fourth wall and say, hey, by the way, I'm playing a character, Tony Stark. Don't try this at home. Like, you don't have to do that. We understand. We bought in. Those of us who are wrestling fans, we understand what's going on there. We don't need you to tell us, And like you said, it's a slippery slope, because how much do you want us to then unbelieve? How much unbelief is necessary at this point? So yeah, it sucks, man. It definitely sucks. And I forgot why I disliked this era of the Undertaker so much, and I think that this might be it, because it was just too over the top. And then they told you it's too over the top. He believes his own hype, kind of. I think that may be why I dislike this so much. So, because it's one thing for when CM Punk and Triple H were feuding, 8 years ago, and it's like, okay, Paul, let me tell you something. Okay, Phil, like, that's one thing. Undertaker's Undertaker, he's on a whole nother level than these guys, So, that's. There's a time and a place for this shoot stuff and this kayfabe breakage, when it comes to the Undertaker.
Yeah,
he's be protected. So.
I'm not saying you could never do it. Like when CM Punk did it, he pulled it off. The pipe bomb was a beautiful thing, and you could buy what he was doing. This, I don't buy any of this. I don't buy that Mark is suddenly just obsessed with
pervert.
Stephanie is this pervert. Because then he's going to say that Stephanie's going to say that Undertaker has been sending her pictures.
I've known Mark too. And it's like Dad said, I guess I just never really did know him. To shake hands with someone and, have friendly conversations, and then all of a sudden, start sending you pictures. And
you don't need to go there.
Which I don't even know what that means. In 1999, it's not like sending her cell phone pictures. He's like going to Revco and getting his pictures developed, and mailing them to her.
We're going to get sponsored by Revco. That's the second time we've name dropped it.
Oh, man. I got bad news for you.
Oh, but, yeah. But, yeah, because she even says, Mark has always been friendly with me, and I've known him for a long time, and we've always had friendly conversations, but now I've received pictures. I don't feel safe at home anymore. I just feel safe when I'm with my daddy, which that's another weird thing. But, Vince basically said, and he's in super somber, like, serious Vince mode. He's like, if this doesn't stop, someone is going to get hurt. He's not doing like, someone's going to get hurt, pal. Like, he's not that Vincent, man. So it was just, man, it's surreal to see this, and weird to me how it mirrors the DDP Stalker angle.
Yeah, I thought of that
we're going to see with Undertaker, who apparently they had some heat there with that whole thing. So it's just weird how that's not even 2 years after this, and we're going down the same well, just on, shoes on the other foot there. So kind of weird.
Very, very strange and very, very frustrating, and just, I hated watching it. But, in a lighter note, I just want to talk about something that someone else that's been popping up on these shows recently that's on this episode of Heat. It's a guy named Lucas, and Lucas is the WWF.com reporter that I had completely blocked out of my mind. I don't remember this guy at all, but how would you describe Lucas?
If anyone's ever seen October Sky, he is the nerdy guy in October Sky, who's also in major pain. He had to shave his head bald. He has the ears that stick out really far. Whatever that character's
DJ
name
Qualls, the new guy.
DJ or that guy, yeah, that works too.
That's
DJ
what I'm
Qualls.
thinking of.
He's like you could call him Poindexter, basically. Like he's Poindexter. He's like this nerdy little dork chop from like I don't know IT department or something. I have no idea how this guy's on national television, man. Like,
and he gets made fun of every time he's on there. Too. Like everyone tries to interview just like shoves him out of the way. He says, "What are you doing?"
I would too. I mean, be a star, people. But seriously, this guy was a dork, man. Like, I have no idea. But I guess he worked for .com, probably for real, honestly.
Definitely.
He's a nerd ball, man.
If anybody knows more about Lucas or knows where to find him, hit us up. Hit us up on Twitter at Talking Taker. I'd love to interview him for the podcast.
Yeah, we don't have guests. We'd love to have a guest. We don't have guests because no one wants to be on it. But we'd love to have Lucas.
Maybe he can help us promote the show.
Sure, on .com.
He's a tech genius. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to take us. Man, we spent a lot of time on that Heat episode because it gets a lot of heat from you and me. And let us know, fans, how you guys feel about this breaking the fourth wall.
It's a turning point moment for the Undertaker right here, as we basically find out that everything we've been led to believe for the past 55 episodes and 9 years is just all made up and doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that brings us to Raw 309 on April 5th, 99. And backstage, Shane is super excited about the show, and Vince couldn't care less. He just said, I don't care about anything happening tonight, you know. I don't give a whatever about Austin, you know, and his belt. He says, I'm staying with Stephanie all night, and you can be in control. And he's got some cops in the room with him. And I just don't even understand why the heck he's even at the building, man. If you're not going to come there, you're not give two craps about it, why don't you just shoot something from home then?
Why are you there, and why did you come with Stephanie?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're so worried about her being attacked, why are you there? That's the whole storyline the entire night.
Yep. It's the whole thing. So, because basically throughout the night we get Shane on a power trip. Basically, he's letting this little bit of power go to his head, and he's booking some stuff, and then he goes back to explain to Vince what he's done. And again, Vince is not watching his own show. So now, okay, we get another Me Too movement episode, or little spot here, because Ivory and Terry are in the ring, and Ivory rips Terry's top off, and as she does that, the lights go out, and Taker's music plays. Now, at this point, they get massive heel heat, because last week, it was a crappy match, and the lights went out, and Taker came out to save us from the boring match. Now, we got some puppies, and so the crowd boos and gets massive heel heat on Taker here. So,
that's one way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Undertaker says that there's a little secret that I need to inform you of, Vince. Tonight there will be a sacrifice. And that actually gets a huge pop from the crowd. Just again, reinforcing that no one wants to cheer for Vince McMahon of all people. They will cheer this evil guy who is basically threatening to rape women and murder people over Vince McMahon. So Undertaker reiterates that he doesn't want to just sacrifice anyone. There's a certain beautiful young woman who will become one with the ministry. She will be taken from her family. She will break her father's heart when she accepts the Lord of Darkness as her personal savior.
Yep.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes is all I can say, man. So, and he says Vince, there's nothing Vince can do about it. And even on commentary, King and Cole are like, this is too far. And I can't echo their sentiments enough.
Yeah.
So, it's too much. And not the tag team, but it is too much. So,
but that's not going to be Undertaker's only target for tonight either.
Oh no. Because we're going to get, again, Vince is going to get some more security backstage at the Stooges. And then we're going to cut backstage again. And Taker is making Christian his whipping boy. Because if you remember last week, he's the one that ratted out where Stephanie was located. So he is literally whipping Christian with a leather belt. And I just wrote, that had to hurt. And I know Edge and Christian have talked on their podcast how when they first entered in, you know, they're like, we got put right in there with the ministry and with Bradshaw and Ron and Taker. He's like, and we just took our lumps and didn't say a word. And I think that's how we earned their respect. And I just got to say, Christian has my respect here. He is getting the crap beat out of him, like first shoot. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out that if you watch that scene, Bradshaw is over in the corner there, just looking on with rapt attention, and I feel like he's just definitely getting some ideas for the future by watching Undertaker whip Christian like that and punish the new guy. So Bradshaw,
he's like Mr.
notes.
Burns. He's like Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, like his little long fingers together.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can do this. Yeah,
That looks fun.
This is how we treat the new guys backstage. So yeah, me too for boys too.
It does. It applies to everybody. Shamrock is going to take on Viscera here, and poor Viscera doesn't even get an entrance, man.
I know, he gets the Jobski entrance, man. He's already in the ring, jobber entrance, and so he didn't get to hear his rip-off of Temple of Dog or anything, so that was sad. But this match, again, is prematurely going to end when the lights go out, and, of course, the Ministry comes out to beat up Shamrock, and Taker just kind of watches on from the stage like a proud papa watching all this carnage, and they go to take him to the crowd, him being Shamrock, and absolutely no one from the corporation even flexes a muscle to come out and help old Kenny Boy here. But, cut backstage, and Shane kind of has maybe an explanation for that.
Yeah, at least they try to explain it, as Shane here says, well, this could be a trap, so let's just lay back and let Kenny try to figure it out on his own. Maybe the Ministry is trying to do something with Stephanie again here.
Yeah, because he doesn't even say something to Boss Man, too, about, like, remember your neck or something like that?
Right, again.
Like, yeah. How could I forget? It's been 8 days. I was hung. So...
Well, that's going to lead to Ken getting tossed in the trunk of a limo and driven away. Ministry couldn't even afford to put Ken in a hearse here.
Oh, no.
Really, really lame. But so after they do that, then the lights begin to flicker in Vince's locker room, and we see the Ministry plotting backstage some more, as this is going to continue to go on throughout the show. We're just blowing through storylines here at a breakneck pace, and I hate it all. I hate this storyline so very much, but I do appreciate that this thread is being played out throughout the entire show. I miss that, man. When was the last time that you saw a storyline getting all these different segments and playing out throughout one episode?
The only thing I can see in recent memory is that when Brock Lesnar came back and was reading the Hunter magazine backstage and stuff, you know, like right before, was that a couple weeks ago? Anyway, but the reason that stood out to everyone on the internet was because, hey man, they introduced it at the beginning of hour 1 and it paid off at the end of hour 3. Like, how cool. And again, we've talked about, off of Talking Taker, how everything just exists in like its own little compartment on Raw nowadays or in SmackDown. It's like, oh, well, this guy did this in segment 1, so he's not going to be seen from again the entire show. Well, like, no, like, there is a lot going on here in these episodes, and it's exhausting to watch it all and try to recap it, but it does make you hang on and watch the rest of the show and tune in, especially when you're feuding with Nitro on the other show. You know, they're going to dangle this little carrot in front of you and say, hey, stay tuned because, you know, Taker and the boys are walking backstage. Like, you're going to see what they're going to do, you know? So I do appreciate that. It's too little of it nowadays. I really wish they had more of that. So, but to cap that all off, Vince is backstage, and as the lights go out, he's on the phone, lights go out, and he's like, Stephanie, yelling for her.
But apparently Stephanie's fine, as we're going to find out, because the Undertaker and the Ministry are going to bring out someone covered up in a black sheet, tie them up to the Undertaker symbol, and Cole and King are on commentary just going over the top, talking about, oh, it must be Stephanie under that sheet. It's definitely Stephanie that the Undertaker's abducted. I can't believe he abducted Stephanie, which means that it's definitely not Stephanie under that sheet. So we actually cut backstage and see Vince with Stephanie, so we don't know who it is under the sheet, as the Undertaker just goes on and on and on, talking about how he's going to sacrifice a young girl here tonight, how this is all Vince McMahon's fault. He's ranting and chanting like crazy before finally taking the cloak off of the young girl, and we see that it is not Stephanie McMahon, but Ryan Shamrock.
Yeah, I forgot she played a part in this particular feud here. I mean, I remember she was on the show at this point with Val Venus and Goldust and all that stuff, but I forgot she was going to play this part. I forgot she got sacrificed or symbolized here. So I'm not sure the crowd got it that was Ryan though. You know, like because I don't know, it's the way this is lit and the way they're holding her on the symbol. It's not the best production they've ever done. Again, most of their stuff is really well produced, but this one's really awkward. And I think that gets lost in the live audience. Us at TV, we know because we have commentary telling us who it is. But when you're in the live audience, they can't react, and you kind of need their reaction to help you make it a bigger deal at home. So, it's weird. One thing Taker says here, we're talking about him being a predator now. He says to her, because Kenny's in the trunk of a car, and he says, when I look into your eyes, I see you. When I touch your skin, I feel you. McMahon, it's the time that she comes home, that she comes to be one of us. We have to answer to a power far greater than we know, and he summons her. And then Stephanie, it's time you come home. So he's, using Ryan as a proxy or as a stand-in for, Stephanie and touching her skin. It's just, man. How does that help you take over the WWF?
No,
I just don't know.
Gross and weird, and they're making the Undertaker as evil as you can make him, I guess.
Yeah.
But God, I just don't want to see this in wrestling.
No.
I watch wrestling to not have to get away from stuff like this from the real world.
Exactly.
But one thing
at 32, people are like, "You still watch that?" I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Because it's safe and it's not depressing when I watch it, like the news is, or every other TV show that takes life too seriously. It's fun. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, a great example of that is the end of this show, because super underrated Stone Cold moment, in my opinion, is when Stone Cold and the Big Show rip apart the Titantron, and Big Show tears it down all the way to the ground, and Stone Cold cuts it up with this giant hunting knife or whatever. Hook. I love that moment. It doesn't get talked about enough.
That's one of my favorite moments from the Attitude Era. Honestly, I just remember vividly laying in my bed watching it, as Raw was going off, and they share a little beer, together. And so Big Show's a face, officially. He got buried by Austin a couple weeks ago on Raw, but, in his first singles match. But now he's, a full-fledged face here, I guess you could say, even though he's going to fight Mankind at the pay-per-view for some reason. I have no idea. It's all confusing who's a face and who's a heel. But, yeah, I'll never forget him pulling the Titantron down and Austin using that giant 35-foot pole with a hunting knife on the end of it to rip the Titantron in half. So that's some commitment for your craft, man, to be willing to rip apart a Titantron just for an angle.
I'm sure that cost him a lot of money.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I enjoy it.
Yeah, what did cost a lot of money, or I guess did cost an extra lot of money, is the production team. They still can't spell Mideon's name right the next week, or 6 days later on Heat. So this is Heat 37 on April 11th. Ken Shamrock's throwing things backstage and yelling, which is apparently just, you can just cut and paste this scene for every episode of Raw, because he just does it every week. And Mideon is defeated by Kenny here. I'm going to call him Kenny because I do on commentary, which I love. Kenny Shamrock. It's terrible. But Kenny Shamrock beats him with the ankle lock, and he's just yelling, "Where is she? Where is she?" Which reminded me of the Batman voice, Yeah, anyway, go ahead. Because, he's asking where she is, and I guess he hadn't seen his own sister in 6 days. So
yeah, apparently Ryan has still been missing ever since Raw on Monday night. But, Ken, he plays that unhinged, just crazy guy character so well. And it was so over with the crowd. They loved when he would just lose his crap on people. So he destroys Mideon. He destroys some referees in the ringside area. He beats up the stairs and the table and the whole ringside area before cutting a promo saying,
"Business is business, Undertaker. But you don't mess with a man's family. Not my family or anybody else's." Mark, I want you to listen real close to me. I'm willing to die for my sister. Are you?
More attempted murder threats, apparently.
Yeah.
That's how you get somebody to tune into Raw tomorrow night, I guess, in 1999.
Yes, I guess so. And one little nugget that's dropped with us on commentary is Cole mentions that Shamrock and Taker will meet at Backlash in your house. So we get that official announcement here. But, I don't know what I'm willing to die for my sister. Are you? We'll see. I might murder you tomorrow night. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned, because we're going to get Raw 307 April 12th, 99. And somebody's back in the saddle again.
Hallelujah. Praise God Almighty. Jim Ross is back on commentary, saving us from the days of Michael Cole and Terry Taylor. Woo! It is such a breath of fresh air to hear JR back, man.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Shane
Definitely is.
McMahon is going to kick off the show, cutting a promo with the corporation. And before he even really starts talking, Shamrock interrupts him. And he starts screaming, asking, where was the corporation last week when he was abducted? And that gets a big pop from the crowd. Shamrock standing up to Shane and asking the questions that we were wondering last week. But Shane tries to calm him down. He says he'll promise that he'll give him an explanation tonight. And after all, they're all in this together. Both of their sisters have been abducted by the Undertaker. And that reminds him that he wants Stephanie McMahon to come out here and talk to him.
Yeah, which is very true. I'm glad they appreciated that continuity, and I appreciate them mentioning it. Their sisters have been abducted by him, so they have something similar, a similar dog in this fight here. And I do want to mention also that Mean Street Posse is introduced here, so thank God for them. So JR and the MSP are here on Raw. So anyway, like you said, Shane calls out Steph to the ring, and Vince tries to stop her, but they take Detroit's finest here and they head to the ring. And Vince basically asked Shane, is this a publicity stunt? Which he's mentioned publicity stunt like 4 times on Raw in the last month. So I wonder, there must be, I don't know, somebody must have been doing that like on the outside world to them or something. I don't know. He's throwing it here on the scripted show. So anyway, he says this better be good. And Shane starts basically ripping his dad and saying, your priorities are solely on Steph. You're not paying attention to anything else going on. You don't care about the corporation anymore. And basically, he says that Michael Cole sucks, and I brought JR back, which I can't agree more. But the crowd is chanting for Rocky and Austin, which just shows how much they don't care about this heel versus heel stuff, And because at the end of this, basically, he says there's no room in the new corporation for Vince. The Stooges are old. He fires them. Vince accuses Shane of being on a power trip. And basically everyone, like I said, is a heel, so how am I supposed to cheer this stuff? Again, we got Austin chants, Rocky chants. What are we supposed to be doing here? This is how you kick off the show, and it's not that, I don't know, not that well placed.
It's so misguided,
Yeah.
And Shane has done a lot of great stuff, but he's still very green here on the mic, in my opinion, too. And he seems legitimately nervous in this segment because he ends up slapping his dad, and I think he was like, for a shoot, nervous about having to hit his dad. And he's kind of flubbing his lines and talking over himself at a lot of points in this. And I think he's legitimately feels bad about having to slap his father. But that is the whole gist of it here, that Shane is making a power grab for the corporation because Vince is distracted with The Undertaker and his assaults and trying to take care of Stephanie. So that's the gist of all this.
And Shamrock quits, too.
Yeah, Shamrock sticks with McMahon and walks out with McMahon. Vince is going to leave and take Stephanie and go home, which is like, great. Why did you come in the first place if you're so concerned about her?
Yeah, I know. And again, this part, Shamrock's kind of been a face these last 2 weeks, and now he's siding with Vince, though. So is he a heel? I don't know.
Right.
It's just crazy. It's just all over the place, man. It's just too much. But basically, Shamrock tells Shane to shove it in some not quite nice language and hand gestures. So, but we get another. The Taker voiceover comes back, and we get another horrible women's segment. I don't even want to mention it, but he says you can run, but you can't hide. Basically, it's only a matter of time until Stephanie will be mine. And in her absence, another innocent victim will be sacrificed before the Lord of Darkness, and Vince is responsible for all of this. So, yeah, we got that going on.
It happens again with Big Show taking on Christian. As Taker's attentions are divided. Again, it's all these multiple things happening here because whilst Undertaker's feuding with Vince McMahon and Ken Shamrock and trying to have his way with Stephanie McMahon and every other woman in the World Wrestling Federation, he's also dealing with the Brood and trying to punish them, especially Christian, because he has a voiceover as Big Show's facing Christian, saying that Christian will have to prove himself to the ministry and orders Gangrel and Edge to go backstage while Christian gets beat up by the Big Show.
Yeah, exactly. Get a really stiff chokeslam in this match. So, and then again, we're going to get more of this gray area because we got the Acolytes facing Double J and Owen Hart in another heel versus heel match.
Everyone's a heel.
Everyone's a heel. And this, again, match is going to break down. The Brood interferes with the Ministry. The lights go out. Taker's music hits. And, of course, Double J and Owen, have Deborah with him. And so Taker's got Deborah in the middle of the ring. Says, it's not my fault. Vince has left me no choice. Grabs her by the throat. Says, I don't know what he says. Now you're going to have to do something, basically, I think. So
he says, how many of the innocent will have to suffer? Because tonight Stephanie was to be my prize, and now, Deborah, you'll have to do. The Undertaker, the Harvey Weinstein of the World Wrestling Federation.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But thankfully...
Oh, no.
Thankfully.
You did not tell me you did not say that.
I went there.
Oh, okay, you dig it.
Thankfully, Ken Shamrock comes out for the save with a baseball bat, scattering the Ministry away, but The Undertaker stands his ground and stays with Ken in the ring and threatens Shamrock that if you hit me with this bat, you'll never see your sister Ryan again.
Yeah, so you got to make a choice. You're going to murder him, like you said on Heat, or you're going to see your sister Ryan again. So he actually goes to swing. So I guess Taker should let him hit him, but he stops him and says, "Oh, she's in the boiler room." So, and then according to Viscera says she's enjoyed every minute of it. So I don't know what's happening.
Hey, the world's largest love machine right there.
Oh, yeah, a little foreshadowing what's to come. Who knew, man?
Oh, man.
Taker does give him a warning. He says, be very careful. Be very careful.
Yeah,
so
he tells Shamrock to be careful
here.
as Shamrock runs to the back, and he ends up finding Ryan in the boiler room. And who else hangs out in the boiler room but Mankind, who's there protecting her.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love he was just there with her. So, but of course, the Ministry attacks Mankind and Shamrock in the boiler room. So now we've got Mankind in this whole thing too, now. And talk about production value. This was so dark and hard to see.
Oh yeah,
it was so bad. And the Taker says, "Welcome to the world of the dark, Shamrock," or it's like
that
really?
Catchphrase didn't get over.
No, the world of the dark. So, and you know that things are getting serious here because the ether rag comes back out. That puts people down, and it knocks old Kenny out here. And Ryan gets told it's her fault, and she's responsible for what's going to happen to her brother now. So, Ryan, it's your fault what happens to Kenny. Taker actually grabs Ryan and calls her a slut, which I thought was horrifying.
1999, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, man. He says something else in just a minute, too, that I don't think he meant to say. So.
Well, dude, we're still talking about the same episode of Raw that started with all this with Vince and Shane. My strategy in going through these episodes lately has been to sometimes I just watch them blind and I just kind of like see what's happening on there. But when I'm like pressed for time, I'll find someone's recap online and like scroll through and see what stuff Undertaker or the Ministry was in. And these next two episodes, I just keep scrolling. And I think, well, that's the end. No, another segment. No, that's probably the last. Nope, they're in the next segment. Well, nope, they're in the next 7 segments on the show. And this is going to continue because Shamrock has been taken out. He's been knocked out, and he's going to become the next victim of the Undertaker's symbol. And he's been dressed up in the Prince pajamas that we saw Mideon in a few weeks ago. But before Undertaker can get to Shamrock, he decides that he is going to send a message to Christian again and picks up Christian, starts choking him, and demands that he be symbolized as well. Because now the Undertaker has 2 symbols out there.
Yeah, he's got 2, man. 2 for must have had a special at Symbols, Symbols Hobby Lobby, whatever. Yeah. So, but here's the slip I was going to say. He says, he tells Edge and Gangrel, he says, put him on the cross. And then he says, no, put him on the symbol.
Undertaker, that's Christian. We've got Shamrock is... Put him on the cross. What? Put him up. No. You. Put him on the symbol.
So it's like, okay, it is a cross. So, yeah.
Yeah, tell Bruce Pritchard
that. Little Freudian. Exactly. So, of course, the Brood disobey. And they, start to see some dissension here. They fight with the Ministry, which is going to allow a distraction, enough time for Shamrock to untie himself and Mankind to come out. And it's just a huge brawl with everyone. And then probably one of my favorite, most zany things to happen. Taker goes over to the Brood's like entrance hole and like stands on it and crouches down and like sinks very slowly down into the stage with like smoke around him. And it's so poorly done. I love it. It was like a WCW thing, man. It was I don't know. It was,
It was
so
great.
Cool.
It
was awesome.
He just pieces out of there. Slowly sinks down into the bottom of the stage. It was so stupid.
So, you think that's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nope.
That should be it. Nope. Not at all. Shamrock's out again. Too much of this. He calls Taker Mark and says, "You've continued to get away from me all night. Bring yourself to the ring." Lights go out. Taker appears in the ring right behind him. So we got this magical, supernatural stuff, which, again, I do appreciate this. He's not 3,000 miles away. He's in the freaking arena. He went under the stage, so we know he's there. So he appears behind him, hammers Shamrock, who reverses, and the crowd gets a big pop here. Of course, the Ministry come out and attack Shamrock. We got a little brawl going on here. Then the Corporation buddies, Triple H and Big Boss Man, come out to help Shamrock. They take him out of the ring. And then beat him up!
Yes, exactly. Triple H and Boss Man beat Shamrock up, and I guess this is officially Shamrock being kicked out of the Corporation. Shane watches from the stage and just smiles at all of this as King and JR speculate that, this must be Shane's explanation for why Shamrock, that the Corporation didn't help Shamrock last week. So officially, Shamrock is done with the Corporation. He's a babyface now, going up against The Undertaker on his own. And good Lord, man, it's just overkill.
Yeah, and if you thought that was undigestible amount of content, there's also a separate thread throughout the entire show. This is the episode when Rock and Austin meet on the bridge, and Rock dumps Austin into the river and throws his belt in the river. So, iconic moment. I love it.
He throws your wrestling dummy over the bridge.
Yeah. That thing, that looks so bad. But, another iconic moment from the Attitude Era. I didn't realize it was playing, parallel the same night as this. So, yeah, that's the good stuff to watch.
Oh, man. Folks, strap in, go grab a drink or something else, because we still got another couple shows of build-up that we got to cover here before we even get into this match. So I'm going to go grab another one. You grab another one, too.
Here, I'll hop on here and talk about Heat real quick.
Talk about Heat, because I didn't watch it.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to lead us
I read about it, but I didn't have time to watch the Heat last night. I just watched the Raws.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's going to lead us to Heat 38 for April 18th, 1999. Basically, I just want to mention this because Boss Man abandons Test during their handicap match against Shamrock. Again, we're talking about Shamrock because he's the opponent for Undertaker here. So he's a handicap match against Boss Man Test, and then Boss Man abandons Test, leading to more infighting in the Corporation. Good heavens. And then Shane books Boss Man versus Shamrock in a no-holds-barred match for Raw. Remember that. Underline that in your brain. Highlight it. It's a no-holds-barred match for Raw. Good news is Shamrock's a full-fledged babyface, and that's something positive I'm going to pull out the pile here. The Brood, quote-unquote, fresh off the rebellion from past week on Raw, I think according to Kevin Kelly, they face Viscera and Midian, and we even get a little video recapping this mini-feud, which I do appreciate. Yeah. They have like a 4-minute video, It's a DQ because the Brood and the Acolytes get involved and Ministry lay them out. So that leads us to Raw 308, April 19th, 1999. I just wanted to mention that Heat because Shamrock is a full-fledged face now. He's got a match with Boss Man on this Raw. That is a no-holds-barred, which means there should be some shenanigans.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So on Raw, April 19th, 1999, episode 308, The Undertaker orders the Acolytes to destroy the Brood. Now, like you just mentioned, the Brood are off in their little mini feud with the Ministry, which I think we talked about on last week's show, that we thought that would have been a cool thing, and it would be really cool if it wasn't like the 7th storyline all blended into all this. It's just overkill. Like if that was the only thing that was going on here, it'd be awesome. But it's like it's not even the top 5 most important things that's happening right now. So the Acolytes, they have another hard-hitting match with the Brood, but then Shamrock comes in and hits the shot of the night, takes a swing with the Louisville Slugger and knocks Bradshaw's head right out of the arena, dude. He literally smashed him in the head, straight across the forehead with a bat. I cringed when I saw it.
Yeah, it hurt, man. These guys are not pulling this stuff, man.
No.
This is some strong style. Strong style shoot Louisville Slugger hit. So it's crazy, man. So again, Taker had ordered them, instructed them. So he's angry backstage and throwing things, taking a page out of Shamrock's playbook. And Bear basically comes to their, defense. Shamrock came in, and then we get a commercial for the very first pilot episode of SmackDown. So just want to mention that there
on next week's episode of Talking Taker.
Yep. So which I have never ever seen. So we'll talk about that next week. So, I know it happens. Never seen it.
Well, during that commercial break, while we were watching that, apparently the Undertaker and Viscera beat down the Acolytes and punished them for what was happening. Which means that the Undertaker would rather align himself with Viscera instead of Ron Simmons and JBL. Yeah. Think about that for a little while, people.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. So, and that's not the only thing ridiculous here, because there's a gravesite and a buried alive setup basically at Raw for Rock and Austin to tinker with, and Undertaker is not even come near it. Doesn't touch it with a 20-foot pole. The same 20-foot pole that Austin ripped Titantron down with. That would have been, yeah. Doesn't touch it.
What a missed opportunity, man.
I know. I know.
But since he's not doing that, Undertaker's got time to give a call to Midian on his flip phone. So I guess that's Midian's speed dial number 4 on the phone. Apparently, he's talking to Midian and telling him to get it done.
Get it done. Yeah.
Mark the cable guy.
Exactly. Get her done. So. Yeah, we got Shamrock and Bossman in that no-holds-barred match, remember, guys? Mm-hmm. Shamrock beats him clean. No shenanigans. Nothing. No Louisville Slugger. Nothing. Just a clean freaking match. And there are never clean match finishes on any of these episodes of Raw. Everything's a DQ. Everything's a run-in. Everything's a count-out because it's all storyline. This match just goes... It's a clean win. What's the point of the stipulation?
Waste of time.
But... Taker wastes no time getting out there with the lights out, and Taker comes on the screen, and he asks Kenny.
This was so like Undertaker's backstage on the Titantron. He's got this purple lighting around him. He's got this cheesy background music. It's so cheap and so silly. Like he's recording his own YouTube show backstage.
Exactly. It's exactly what it looks like, And so he says he expected Shamrock to be smarter and leave his sister... rather than to leave his sister at a hotel, in Lansing, Michigan, which I guess is outside of Detroit there. And he says that he knows exactly where she is. I'm going to go knock on room 223. So at the mention of that number, Kenny runs off to the back. So I don't know if that's like May 19th for Kane or what, but room 223 is something there.
I miss Undertaker building caskets and cutting cheesy promos on Yokozuna.
I know.
I just want to go back. I don't want Undertaker invading little girls' hotel rooms.
Yeah. Well, something else that nobody wanted was the main event of the show, which is Big Show versus Viscera.
That's the main event of the night.
Yeah. Technically, the last match. Yeah, it's the main event. So, of course, straight out of nowhere, Undertaker comes out to help, because the lights go out, and as Big Show signals for the choke slam, Taker and Paul Bearer come out, and Taker and Show go face to face and trade some blows, and they do the little double goozle, choking each other, and Viscera comes to the aid of his big ministry leader here, and then Mankind comes out for the save, and he nails Viscera, and again, Mankind and Big Show are going to fight at the pay-per-view in a couple days. And Taker bails, and Viscera gets taken out by Show and Mankind. And I just wrote, how does this build to this pay-per-view in 6 days?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. But I guess it plants some seeds for stuff down the road. But still, it was unnecessary.
Completely unnecessary. Way, way, way too much stuff going on here.
Yeah, so now we planted the seeds for Taker and Big Show in the counter, who Big Show also hates Vince McMahon.
Yep.
As we established last week on Raw. So, oh, man.
Again, it goes back to what you talked about before. I guess these guys are all acting like you would think they would react and they would have realistic reactions, but sometimes you just gotta have the edit button, man. You gotta cut stuff out. Focus on one thing. Well, that takes us to later on in the night. We get another sit-down interview with Vince McMahon and Stephanie at the WWF TV studios, hosted by investigative journalist Michael Cole, who asked all the hard-hitting questions as usual, asking him what's going on with Shane and all that sort of stuff. But this interview gets interrupted by some production agents who run in and say that there's a problem in the parking lot. And Vince starts hustling out, man. He starts screaming, "Go, go, 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 go!"
Take me to him. Come on. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go.
He knows that the ministry is out there doing something. And so Vince gets out there to the parking lot and sees Midian out there. And Vince proceeds to just beat the piss out of Midian. Kicks him straight in the balls, man. He unloads on Dennis Knight.
It's like he's had all this, like, literal, like, actual anger towards the real man, Dennis Knight, and he's just unloading. I mean, okay, let's just break this down. In real life, this is this man's boss.
Right.
Shoot punching him in the head, kicking him in the beans, and, like, pushing him against the wall, and then he tries to run him over with the car. He gets in the car, kicks it in reverse, and tries to back it into Midian, and he runs into the wall, goes to get out. Midian is able to sneak into the car and pull away very quickly.
Is that your car you drove in high school?
It could be my Cadillac from high school. I'm not sure. My
I couldn't tell if it was
Cadillac
a Cadillac or a Lincoln. I wasn't sure.
I don't know. I don't know what Midian's style is. Probably more of the '89 Cadillac. He seems like a, that's the purity of evil car, I guess. So he's not quite as classy. So I guess he had one eye on.
We had some good memories in that car.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. So, man. Anyway, that's that, and then that's the go home for this. Ken Shamrock angle is Vince beating up Midian. So, and then Shane ends the show.
How we're selling Undertaker and Ken Shamrock. Oh man, that tells you everything you need to know.
And also, Shane hits Austin with a shovel in the head at the end of the show. Just FYI.
So that takes us to the night of Backlash 1999, the very first Backlash in your house.
Yeah.
The first Backlash, the final in your house.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Heat before that. I just want to mention on a serious note, it opens up with a memorial for Rick Rude, who had passed away on Tuesday. So we haven't spoken a lot about Rick Rude on the show. I mean, I know we talked about him and using DX. Now his on Raw and Nitro at the same time, but I mean, I think he was only like 41 or something years old, or like 39. Right. I mean, he was so young, man. Like, but he always looked old to me. Like, he looked like he was 45 back then. Like, it's just weird. Like, I don't know, because 41 is AJ Styles nowadays. It's just weird how 41 was so old back then, but now it's not. So
yeah,
and John Cena, I think so.
He's one of those guys like Arn Anderson or Ric Flair that's just always looked old, no matter what.
JJ Dillon,
yeah,
all those guys. But, in all seriousness, it opens up with that. So that's kind of a sad thing. That's like the 10th death we've talked about on the show. So
yeah, and this is only the beginning of this run for the next 4 or 5 years where, wrestlers were dropping like flies. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll have a lot more of that to talk about.
The Ministry has something going on tonight, this episode of Heat, right before we get to Raw. And we got them arriving backstage, and Prince Albert, as I mentioned, I don't know, 10 hours ago, we talked about him when Bossman came back. He's about to pierce Brian Christopher's nipple yes, let me repeat that. Prince Albert is about to pierce Brian Christopher's nipple, and thank God the Undertaker turns the lights out. The Ministry come out and beat up too much and say that aside from the torture that I'll inflict on Shamrock on the pay-per-view, there will be a most horrible tragedy tonight. So
yeah, remember that.
Just remember that. Yeah, remember that, because there's going to be a most horrible tragedy tonight, and it's not the match we're going to watch. It's something else. So we got more Test Bossman drama as Visceral beats Test after Bossman hits him with a nightstick. So again, just more corporation Ministry infighting, this and that, and Vince and Stephanie arrive in a limo to end the show. And when Vince gets out, he gets a massive pop. I don't get it. So
I don't know. I guess it's working. Maybe somehow, some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That brings us to Backlash in Your House, April 25th, 99. I was 13 years and 2 days old at this point, so yeah.
Yes, you were.
Yes, I was.
Right, perfect age range for the WWF right now.
For some creepy predator date rape stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is a little bit of action on the show before the Undertaker's match. The Brood take on the Acolytes and Midian in the opener on the show, and Viscera ends up interfering to assist the Ministry with that win. And then Shane cuts a promo backstage, says he's running things tonight, so Vince and Stephanie can go sit in the skybox and watch the show. Vince tells Shane he thinks he made a big mistake on Raw and hopes he doesn't make another big one tonight.
Yeah, because he's the referee for that Austin Rock match.
Yeah.
So, anyway, and then I just want to, before we get into the actual match here, we're going to say that this match for Taker is second from the top again. Just showing his importance, regardless of this hokey nonsense BS he's been given and being asked to perform. Oh, something, speaking of hokey, did you notice that he split his goatee a couple weeks ago on Raw?
I didn't think
goatee was parted down the middle, and he had two two horns coming from the bottom of it instead of that one giant anvil and art horns. So yeah, that's, oh man, put that in our chapter of things that have happened here. So anyway, let's get to the match here again. We've said Providence, Rhode Island. I think it's called the Providence Center or something like that. Civic Center or something like that? Yes, Providence Civic Center in Rhode Island. So,
well, in addition to that change to his look, he's got a little bit different music coming out, a little bit slower, and doesn't have the chanting or the talking at the beginning of it that we heard at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Undertaker also doesn't have his robe or anything. He's just coming out in his gear with Paul Bearer flanking him by his side, and he's got a cool new Titantron video too.
Yeah, I just wanted to. He may have had this. I can't remember how long he's had this now. Probably since he's done this ministry stuff. But I just want to say props to them because it's very cinematic. It's not like everyone else's Titantron video of them beating up each other, beating people up in the ring. His is just him in like this creepy warehouse temple thing. He's got the ancient books. He's running his hand across. He's got his throne. He's got candles. He's got his throne on fire. It's just really, I appreciate the extra touches they put to make him unique. Again, which is why it ticks us off and it told us 3 weeks ago to forget everything you know about him. He's just playing character. So why would you do that if you're going to invest all this time and money into this extra stuff and put him over as, set apart from everybody else? So I don't get it.
I don't either, man. Let's try to take our minds off it and just talk about the match itself. It's a long one, man. They go on for a long time. Ken Shamrock does exactly what he should do. He attacks Undertaker as he's getting in the ring. It's a very personal feud, so he doesn't wait around and do a collar and elbow tie-up. He goes right after him. And I appreciate commentary, too, because they're actually analyzing the match here. King and Shamrock are talking about Shamrock needs to take out Undertaker's vertical base. He needs to target his legs there. And I always enjoy when the commentaries take a match seriously and do that.
Yeah.
And that's what Shamrock is going to do here in the early stages. He's going to throw a lot of kicks to Undertaker's leg and try and take out his base.
And with that, we get JR giving us anatomy lesson. He's talking about he's got your, what's he talking about? Your quadriceps muscle and all this stuff like that. And he's going and saying all this stuff about breaking down the anatomy of it and why it hurts and all this stuff. And then King just goes, well, thanks, Dr. Ross. And then JR fires back. He's like, I took kinesiology in college. Like, I know something about what I'm talking about. It's like they're actually bantering and bickering on camera or on audio.
Thank God JR is back.
Yeah. So with that, JR says no one has been as successful attacking Taker's leg as much as Shamrock is here tonight, which I just, Bret Hart was. He's a master at it. But it's cool because Shamrock does a sunset flip right into a knee bar on the leg, and he's working that left leg. He goes on later on to work the right leg. I don't know if he just forgets or if it doesn't matter. He just doesn't care. But because usually in wrestling you work the left side, but long section here with leg work. Taker out of the ring. He powders out. Ken stomps the ankle on the stairs. Kicks his leg in the ring. It's just a lot of good psychology, actually, if you're breaking this down. But again, if you're just a casual fan watching Raw, you're used to 2-3 minute matches to get interrupted by someone's voiceover or someone coming out or a DQ. And now these guys are going to go almost 20 minutes in a pretty psychology wrestling match here. It's definitely a disconnect from what casual fans are used to on Raw.
Yeah, I thought the psychology was a little bit weird because Shamrock's the babyface here, and
Right.
Undertaker is the one who's actually selling the whole match. Shamrock
Sure.
works over Undertaker's leg for a long time, and I don't know. I felt like this match was probably 5 minutes too long. Like the beginning and the middle really drag, and it's not, the work's not bad. Like, appreciate what Shamrock's doing, working over the leg. But man, like you just said, this crowd is deathly quiet, and Paul Bearer is even disinterested in it. He's outside, but he's not doing his thing. He's not trying to stir the crowd up. We don't hardly hear from him at all. But the crowd starts chanting, "We want Ryan" instead, and I could just imagine this match happening in 2018, and the crowd would be chanting for JBL and CM Punk and be tossing beach balls around. That's how quiet they are, and how much they just don't care about what's happening. I feel sorry for the guys.
Yeah, I really do, man. Because again, the match isn't bad at all. Like, as far as the effort they're putting in, and it's not a 5-star classic, but it's good.
It picks up
I
towards the
recommend
end.
This match. Yeah, it picks up again.
I wouldn't.
I recommend to watch it because it's good to see Shamrock. This is probably one of the only times we see them face off. I like seeing this. I like seeing the match. I like seeing the psychology of it. It's definitely not a 5-star classic. I think you should go watch it just because of what's about to happen. I'm about to talk about here. Okay. And that is that Taker is going to bust out some new moves. I guess while he's in the ministry and he's been worshiping Satan, he has been getting some new moves here because we get their apron stunner like we're used to. We got the crowd booing after there's an arm bar. But then Taker hits the guardrail and he posts Shamrock against the ring post, throws him back in the ring, works the lower back, and then he does that move I talked about a long time ago where he just puts him over his like a backbreaker and stretches his thighs and his chin out. Gets really lazy two count, and then he does one of my favorite moves of all time. He does the bow and arrow. And if those of you don't, like spot on. Like, this was done in a lot of cruiserweight matches on WCW. Probably Steve Regal would have done it in WWF. I would imagine probably X-Pac maybe. That's about it, though. You're not going to see it in WWF a lot. A lot of WCW, but it's still, those of you who don't know what a bow and arrow is, go look it up. It's awesome. I'm sure we'll put a little clip of it or something on our social media. So, and I just love that move, and it hurts for a shoot. My brother did it to me all the time. So I think you and I did to each other quite a bit, too,
I'm
in
sure
our
we
matches.
Did. It was cool. That's when things picked up for me, when he busted out the bow and arrow, for sure. Undertaker is working over Shamrock's back here. Undertaker goes for a leg drop, but Shamrock ends up catching the leg and reversing that into that leg bar that he's been working over this whole match, which, like, that spot, that was a cool spot. It should have got a huge pop, but this crowd could not care less about things. And then Undertaker counters the leg lock into his own little half crab, which I think we saw him do against Stone Cold Steve Austin last year at some point, but still, you don't see that too often. It was cool for Undertaker to bust it out. These guys are trying, but the crowd's not giving them anything.
Exactly. That's why I'm recommending, just to see the difference in, like, his style. He's actually doing like a mat wrestling match, kind of like he'd done with Brett before. But I appreciate the effort that he's putting into it to show some new stuff. But I do hate it. The crowd is not into it like they should be. Again, there's so much hokey BS that we've been dealing with the last 4 weeks on Raw. So I don't blame them.
For sure.
And then something else is kind of weird. I don't know if it's just a matter of calling it in the ring or whatever, but they go to, like, throw each other into the ropes several times, and there's all kind of miscommunication, and Taker hits him for a shoot in the face with a big boot. I mean, Kenny goes down hard, man. And then you can see them as they're covering each other for pinfalls. They're trying to hide they're talking underneath, their hair, putting their elbow in their face, but you can hear them talking, like, discussing things. And I don't know what's said, but there's a little bit of awkwardness right there. And, I don't know. It's just got kind of weird. But then there's a lot of reversals. We get our ankle lock. And then our boy with the Louisville Slugger runs down.
Yeah, this time it's Bradshaw running down with a baseball bat. So Shamrock's distracted. He's got Undertaker into the ankle lock after a series of reversals. But Shamrock has to go fight off Bradshaw. But it doesn't faze Shamrock. He turns around into a choke slam, but reverses it into an armbar. Then Bear gets on the apron and distracts old Kenny. and Kenny knocks him down, goes and hits a belly-to-belly suplex on Undertaker. So Shamrock's looking like Superman here. He's fighting off everybody. But then Shamrock makes a fatal mistake here. Shamrock tries to set up his own tombstone, but Undertaker counters and ends up getting the pin off of his tombstone. So not a smart move by Shamrock.
No, it's because his finisher is that belly to belly. He finishes everybody off with it, but Taker gets right up out of it, and it's like, this is the part. I'm not sure if they were having discussions on how to end it or what the finish was or who forgot something, because this is kind of, the ending comes out of nowhere. Like you think the belly to belly would be a near fall or something like that, but it's not. He just gets up and goes to try to do a body slam or whatever on Taker, and Taker reverses tombstone and gets a pinfall at 18 minutes and 53 seconds, and it's just, I don't know, it was weird. But then, Taker kind of gets out and gives Bradshaw the Iggy or the go-ahead and says, have at it. So he comes in and just beats up Shamrock, power bombs him, chokes him with the baseball bat like Raven used to, or Sandman used to do with the kendo stick. And I just want to know where Farouk is and all this. He's helping out his pal.
Yeah, I guess they're just setting up Bradshaw for some sort of singles run here and setting them up for a match next month. Couldn't be more blatant here. But it's poor Farouk getting left out of this deal. Yeah,
for real. So, but just like these episodes of Raw, ladies and gentlemen, it's not over yet. This match was second from the top. We still got a main event to go. And then there's something else that happens.
Yeah, so the main event is The Rock and Austin yet again. Ends up with Vince kind of seemingly committing or continuing this babyface turn as he ends up hitting Shane with Stone Cold's Smoking Skull belt, allowing Austin to defeat The Rock, and Vince returns the Smoking Skull belt to Austin in the ring. So, again, think about that. Vince has usually been with Stephanie this whole time, but he's gone out to deal with Shane, and so now he is in the arena dealing with Stone Cold and Shane and The Rock, and Stephanie is alone in the limousine outside the arena talking to security, and you may already be figuring out where this is going.
Yes, so we got her back there, and this is the part I've been waiting for this whole build-up, man. I thought it came a lot earlier than this, but I've been waiting for this. This is my favorite part of this whole entire sexual predator build is what's about to happen. So the ministry come outside, and the cops, instead of like fighting them or tasing them, they just tell the limo driver to leave. They're like, "Oh, get out of here, get out of here!" So the limo driver leaves, and then what do you know? We have a camera with a live feed inside the limousine facing the front window of the limo.
How convenient.
How convenient. So, but anyway, so we cut to the camera inside the back of the limo. Stephanie's like, "No, wait for Vince, wait for Dad." Of course, the window rolls down. Undertaker does his dramatic turn. He delivers the line I've been waiting for this whole time. "Where to, Stephanie?" So, exactly.
An iconic moment, no doubt about it.
Yes.
It's so goofy, it's so cheesy, but guess what? I'm okay with it. Like, this is the silliness and stupid. Like, this is the equivalent of Undertaker building coffins. He kidnapping Stephanie. He's being evil about it. I'm good. I don't know. I guess he's still kidnapping her and taking her to somewhere to do bad things with her. But I don't know, man.
Maybe room 223 with Ryan. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no.
We don't know where he's taking her, but
I'm never going to think of that the same again.
I love this part, though, yes. I've been waiting for this whole time, man. Whole time.
But, no, you know
there
what?
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, we've covered Undertaker and Ken Shamrock now, and it's going to lead to quite the segment on tomorrow night's episode of Raw, as Undertaker has kidnapped Stephanie and is going to finally try to make her his bride.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
All I can say is I'm glad to be done with this month of storyline. I'm sure the next month is going to frustrate me as well, but I'm glad to be done with this. I can't recommend this match, man. I don't think it was all that guy. The last 5 minutes were good, but I don't think you need to go watch it. And to me, this is like the third in a row Undertaker match that I would not recommend, along with WrestleMania and Buried Alive. So, yeah, this has not been the best stretch for me. But, you say it is worth watching?
I say watch it just because it shows some differences in his arsenal, I guess you could say. It shows he's doing something else. He's trying. God bless them. That crowd didn't want it. They just should have gone home 5 minutes early. Taker could have eaten the yelling backstage if they'd have gone home early. He's got an immune to that stuff. But anyway, yeah, I just recommend it for that. It's definitely not a good match. I think it's cool to see him pull out some new tricks and just see how Ken Shamrock kind of stands toe to toe with him, reversing this stuff, and has Taker in the back pedal for a lot of the match. He's in the cell. So, but it is weird. Whatever. It's not a 5-star classic, not even a 3-star classic, but whatever. Anyway.
Well, we want to hear what you think. We're kind of split on it, so let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Talking Taker. You can also subscribe or leave a comment on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Google Play, or Stitcher as well. And of course, the best thing you can do is just to let your friends know. Retweet, share the podcast with your fellow wrestling fans and let them know about it. Let them know you're enjoying it. We see you out there when you're commenting and replying and letting us know. It means a lot to us, and we do greatly appreciate all of you for sticking around throughout all of this muck and mire and madness and all of this ridiculousness with the ministry. We're trying to do our best and have fun with it. So we're going to continue on to next week as we cover another UK exclusive pay-per-view. So we're actually going to cover No Mercy, UK edition from May of 1999, and another hopefully fun match that we've never seen before. We'll also cover the first edition, the pilot episode of SmackDown on next week's show as well. So I'm sure it'll be another jam-packed, fun show.
I just want to mention that episode of that we're gonna cover that was No Mercy or whatever. It's gonna have lots of ministry on that episode on that pay-per-view. So ministry matches galore. Good thing we're not covering all the ministry matches. But anyway, yeah, yep, it's all good. And ladies and gentlemen, if you were there at Providence Civic Center this night, if you were there for this pay-per-view, Backlash, the last in your house, let us know. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, take her easy.
Where to, Stephanie? Oh no! My God, the Undertaker's abducting Stephanie McMahon, and Vince doesn't even know it! Oh God! Oh God, no!